finally met the U.S. Army. So I'm very interested to see what this is all about. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the video. Puihali. Let's go. I bet this American right here was probably... See, and don't take this the wrong way, but our cultures are different. So Americans, especially two American males, will never kiss like that unless, well, you guys know. But, so he was probably like, what is going on right now? But it's just a culture difference. So you can see it on his face. He's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? This guy's trying to kiss me. But it's just a friendly, it's a respect thing. So it's just kind of one of those things where different cultures, I love it.
One of the most famous events of World War II was the link-up of United States and Soviet forces at the river Elbe on the 25th of April 1945. We are told that they first met the little river town of Torgau, and ever since the event has been commemorated as Elbe Day, the day when Nazi Germany was cut in half.
Here on the Elbe, on April 25th, 1945, the forces of the 1st Ukrainian Front of the Red Army linked up with American forces. Okay.
But we have been slightly misled for over 7 decades, for the first link-up between US and Soviet forces actually occurred hours earlier than the famous meeting at Torgau and at a completely different town.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. I've always heard it as Torgau, where they first met up on, I believe it was a bridge. I think they met on like a bridge that had been blown up by the Germans, by the Wehrmacht, as they were retreating. That's as much as I know about it, so let's see what they have to say here.
But for some reason this important fact has been ignored and the focus placed only on Torgau. By the 25th of April 1945, the German military situation was dire. Berlin was completely surrounded by the Red Army, which was fighting street by street and house by house towards the city centre, where an increasingly infirm and unbalanced Adolf Hitler lived in his bunker beneath the ruined Reich Chancellery.
The Führer bunker is what it was called, beneath the garden of the Reich Chancellery.
What remained of his field armies was still resisting desperately the US, British and Canadian drive east and the Soviet push west. In the sector of the US First Army, the city of Leipzig had fallen to its divisions on the 20th of April, Hitler's last birthday.
Yep.
There no longer stands a German line in the west. Instead, American, Canadian and British troops drive forward on almost every sector, enveloping small pockets of resistance and crumbling hedgehogs. These films were the last ever made by a courageous man, Gaston Madru, who was killed by enemy fire immediately afterwards.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So whoever was filming these scenes, I mean, it's a dangerous job being a combat cameraman. You're not even carrying a weapon. I can't imagine that. I don't think I would feel too safe being in a combat zone without at least a weapon to protect myself if I got separated from other troops. I'd want a way to at least defend myself. So, yeah, that's too bad. This gentleman passed away from enemy fire, was killed by enemy fire as soon as this film was shot.
After a bitter fight, the great city of Leipzig falls. The radio station is taken intact. The intricate equipment, which it might have taken the Allies months to replace, stands ready for their use.
The Americans had hoped to strike at Berlin before the Soviets, but this advance was halted by political considerations. US forces were ordered to go no further than the Elbe River.
That's true. So a lot of people don't know that. The US could have advanced on Berlin. Of course, Berlin was already surrounded by the Red Army. So, in my opinion, I believe that the Red Army earned the right to go into Berlin. They already had it surrounded. I definitely believe that they earned that. They earned the right to go into Berlin. Their country was attacked. The Soviet Union was attacked by Germany. The Germans, what they did to the Soviet people was absolutely horrifying. And I think, the Red Army going to Berlin, taking Berlin, they earned it. As far as I'm concerned, they earned it. So I just wanted to put that in here.
The First Army's 5th Corps pushed on from Leipzig to the Mulde River. Before them lay the shattered remnants of the German 12th Army, and beyond that, about 30 miles or so, the rapidly advancing Soviets. The Elbe was one of several rivers forming something called the Line of Contact, marking the furthest agreed advances east and west by the Allied armies. In some cases, British and American forces advanced hundreds of miles beyond the line of contact, as German formations collapsed in front of them and Soviet divisions had yet to...
Wow, do you see how scared? This is... I can't remember the name of it. I wish I could remember the name of the unit, but it was young boys, old men. It was the last line of defense, the last people that Adolf Hitler could throw into the line of fire, basically, to be either taken prisoner or killed. So, I can't imagine. I mean, this boy looks very young. He looks no older than 16, 17 years old. He looks petrified. I can't imagine.
Advance to occupy the territory. They would later withdraw to their agreed...
You can see how old that soldier is. That's not a regular Wehrmacht soldier. That's one of their home guards. I wish I could remember the name.
...sectors after the German surrender. It was essential that when the US and Red armies met, they should not simply crash into one another, which could have led to confusion and friendly fire incidents.
Absolutely.
But that they met gradually and safely. To this end, both sides sent out reconnaissance patrols that ranged far ahead of the main forces, checking the route ahead for Germans and also seeking their allies, whom both sides knew to be close.
So basically, each side, the Red Army, was sending patrols out, or reconnaissance patrols out, kind of like feelers, trying to either find A, the enemy, or B, the allies. So that was happening on both sides, kind of stretching out, trying to find the other side. And I agree, they don't want to meet that fast, because there would have been friendly fire incidents. Friendly fire incidents, for those that don't know, is when friendly troops end up killing each other accidentally, basically, is what friendly fire means. So, could have happened, especially with the amazing, awesome artillery that the Red Army had. Also the Allied Army, but very possible if they got close enough that they could actually be firing on their allies. So they were trying to kind of take it slow and find out where each other was before they started launching artillery strikes and things like that and end up killing their friends.
On the morning of the 25th of April 1945, the US 5th Corps 69th Infantry Division